Borderlands 2 is one of relatively few games that I've played more than once. One that's captured my attention more thoroughly than I ever could have imagined. Despite coming out over a decade ago, the community is alive and well, and I had the fortune to learn that firsthand. I consider myself to be a pretty average person all around, and yet I've received an outpouring of kindness that I can't really begin to describe. So to celebrate just how nice everyone has been, I'd like to take the chance to play through the game as a normal person. I figured Norman would be as fitting a name as any to start things off. And of course, we still can't have things like bonuses active. For the first time in a long time, I don't have to visit the DLC first, so after Claptrap's eye is stolen, I get right into the meat of things. And, I don't know, those things look kinda scary. Especially with how broken this game still is after all these years. Show me one average person who would willingly fistfight anything on this planet. So, as per usual, I won't be using melee for the run. Similarly, I'm not exactly an acrobat. I'd probably break my neck trying to jump off of a bullymong. So, bounces are out too. I managed to find the thief in question using a questionable navigational device by the name of Google Assistant. Claptrap. Now, a Vault Hunter, of course, shouldn't have any issue here, but again, these things are scary. So if you're ever face to face with such a beastie, you can stand on these rocks over here to keep it away. Bullymongs have no natural... Oh god, no! Okay, so the starter pistol is still able to do things just fine. Which is why I've upgraded. A beautiful Jacob's pistol. It served me well in clearing out Liarsburg, but my health pretty quickly became an issue. While there, I went back and forth regarding whether or not I wanted to allow the use of shields. After all, I don't have one. On the other hand, a pretty good amount of people on Pandora have them. While pondering there would be the option of purchasing health from Zed's machines, were I to even be able to dream of affording healthcare in America. There, buddy. This is a fantasy game where you can get repairs that you need, and I carries into separate insurance. So, here's about where I changed my mind on the whole shield thing. I'm maybe the slightest a bit underleveled, but my damage is incredibly low, and my bleed out is fast. These guns are incredibly inaccurate, and you might be thinking to yourself, why don't you just get better ones if you're so bad at the game? And that's a fair thing to ask, except today I'm using the common gear for the common person. No uncommon or higher allowed. Also no artifacts. I know I tend to list these more at the beginning, but if you're wanting a more comprehensive list of the rules, those will be in the description for your viewing pleasure? I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Honestly, the shield made a huge difference, but not nearly to the degree that it should have. For reference, at just how rusty and underprepared I was, I died to Boom. Friggin' Boom of all people. Luckily, I only needed one more attempt at him, but I don't know if my dignity is going to recover from that. Faced with the option of using a turret, I had to confront the question. Given the option, would the average person press a big button to shoot a giant missile cannon? And follow-up question. Who the hell wouldn't? Hey, no, that's not for you. You stay away from that. I made my way down to the glacier feeling unusually unsure of myself. I'm not a confident person by any means, but I was feeling vulnerable. I had nothing really to fall back on. When I go down, my current weapons are pretty inaccurate because they're common, and that's not going to change. So even a little distance from my enemies is lethal, but I don't have the survivability to stay in that sort of range. I'm used to building at least sort of around healing. As you can see, I have a skill point now, but normal people aren't Vault Hunters, so I'll be spending that on getting a brand new shiny nothing. Hope you like seeing the skill point notification because that's only going up from here. As such, I'd have to be a lot more careful than usual, a lot more meticulous. Slowly picking off enemies to buy myself little pockets of safety in this world of chaos. While my usual skips arguably aren't normal, I feel like it's normal to want to avoid getting shot as much as possible, so I'm going to allow it. I got to Flint, and I wasn't too worried. I figured the usual cheese strats would work fine, but I found that there's a tiny gap in the environment. If my guns were more accurate, this thing might as well be a one-way shield. But with them being what they are, this was gonna take a while, so I ditched the idea to shoot him from my normal perch. When he pulled out a move, I've never seen any enemy pull off so cleanly. But for as scary as it was seeing such a maneuver from Flint, I survived and was able to return to the fight without paying the dying fee. He did reset though, which was kind of annoying. The bright side is he's really easy to aggro from up here, so there's really no reason to stay in the arena. All these years later, and I'm still learning. I joined Claptrap on a voyage to a land full of bullymongs that make my guns look like they're just meant for tickling. I don't know what my luck was with this run. It feels like most of the items I found were either uncommon, less common, or elemental, which normally would be great. In this case, it made it really hard to keep up with scaling in some sections. I got a free pass to car rentals, which I of course took extra special care of. I'm sure that'll buff right out. I went to visit Roland's crew, who wanted me to help Corporal Reese. He was late on his deliveries, so he had me take over. And I know I died and all, but come on! I was holding on to it! I cradled it in my arm, held it close in a tender moment. Why did I have to go back for it? It was basically in my inventory. They then let a near-perfect stranger handle the one device responsible for them not being wiped off the face of the planet, and I met Scooter. The game didn't even crash this time. Wow! I figured Earl would be important for this run, but spoilers. I was right! I normally just get backpack upgrades to pick up items to sell, but I pretty desperately needed the extra ammo this go-around. Something about guns doing minimal damage combined with a lot of missed shots is a way of making small reserves pretty ineffectual. Also, can we take a moment to appreciate that Roland was kidnapped? And I don't mean to say that it's a good thing. I mean the man who's so single-mindedly a soldier, the one who sacrifices everything he knows and loves to simply fight, completely let his guard down while taking a leak. A time when you're arguably at your most vulnerable and thus should have your guard at its highest. I was hoping Hyperion guns would give me the edge that I needed to hit things from a distance when I went down. My hope was grossly misplaced. They did work well enough when I was standing though. I very comfortably got the pit skip on my first try and made my way to Lilith. And frankly, I've been trying too hard for too long to actually help here. So I figured I'd take the lazy way out, and I never realized just how slow she is. It took her almost 9 minutes to clear these guys from the area. I go to pick up some parts to put a car together to sneak in, and if you think I'm stepping 1 foot outside this car with those maniacs out there, then you're not thinking normal enough. I'll say it again, this place is scary. And dry. It's covered in sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. I tried fighting Bad Ma, but this seems like a bad idea. Maybe 'twas I who was not thinking normal enough. Turrets are underrated. This thing is awesome. So I'm underleveled. My gear is worse. My primary gun is level 5, and it doesn't go up from there. So I left to at least alleviate one of those issues. Realistically, it only means that I'll have higher health, and I can use higher level common gear. If it drops. You can see about how well this thing was holding up, which is to say that it really wasn't. My salvation would come just before the bull room in the form of a Hyperion sniper. It does multiple times more damage, and finally gives me a legitimate ranged option. In specific cases, I would still fall back on my handgun to preserve sniper ammo, but I used it to clear out the majority of this room, and this pretty immediately became the most valuable weapon type. Yes, even in spite of my aim. On a similar note, it's been a long time since I actually bothered fighting this guy, but I think my odds of surviving even trying to run past him are negligible at best. Roland is being double kidnapped, but I was able to run past pretty much everything else, much to my surprise. That is, until I got to a seemingly impassable hurdle. Come on. Come on. Open the gate! Come on! Now, I was pretty sure I was gulag bound. For the few people that don't know, if you don't destroy this thing in a certain time frame, it'll leave, and the whole thing will become significantly more difficult in a new area. With it sitting still in really close range, I was able to deal plenty of damage to break it pretty quickly, all things considered. I hadn't expected anything to die at a reasonable pace, so it was a welcome surprise. We were able to head back home, where the strong majority of the Crimson Raiders would more or less entirely remain while sending me out to handle their errands. I was tasked with lighting bugs on fire to wake a guy up via screaming, which is horribly inhumane, but that's the objective. A single shot to a plant handled it, and before I knew it, I was off to steal explosives for a child. I figured I could use a Goliath to distract the nearby enemies, which didn't not work, and I went back to blow up a train that may or may not have had passengers on it. This place is an ethical nightmare. Now, I figured Wilhelm would be an issue. Probably a pretty big one, but I never realized just how frequently he summons surveyors. I was spending a ton of my time shooting them down because I couldn't outdamage them. Problem is, as slowly as Wilhelm does damage, I don't have healing nor a source of ammo here. So while it was an extremely long one, I was on a clock to beat him, and without any real plans that could alleviate that concern. The worst part is that I even got pretty close, but he somehow always knows to stop spawning things in just when you need them. Just until he can taunt you with it. I would come back with not only a slightly higher level, but with slightly stronger firepower and a lot more ammo. As soon as I didn't have to worry as much about ammo, I was able to clear out the surveyors a lot more effectively. It also helps that they just break faster now. In comparatively record pace, I was able to defeat Wilhelm, and I'm clearly the stronger combatant, but he's a sore loser and insisted on a limbo contest instead. Or something, I don't have a better explanation as to this. But he's clearly not dead. I can see you moving, my guy! Man, I should have stuck around for limbo. My interference in the affairs of Sanctuary, with nobody even trying to screen the tech we're bringing in, has led to a lot of people presumably being shot with some of the least explosive mortars I've ever seen. I'm the only person reported missing from what is allegedly an entire city full of people, which either means Lilith hates me in particular, or has no regard for all of the innocent bystanders. After her giving me the cold shoulder, cause the fridge. Never mind. I was headed back to Sanctuary through a whole lot of hoops, but say it was an accident. She didn't mean to dump you on the surface with no way back. What was stopping her from coming to get you? Sure, it's a long walk, but there's this thing called teleportation that she is fully capable of. Kind of leaving me high and dry here. Which is ironic, because I'm low and probably wet. Luckily, you can run past basically everything in this map except for the Gluttonous Thresher, and for once, I actually had loaders helping me to fight this thing. It was strange to see after having tried so hard in the past to achieve the same, but I'll take what I can get. That would have been so cool if it was on purpose. Stunts! Okay, being rat aside, I've got a machine to protect. And yes, the bar skip is an option, but I was feeling pretty good about my chances here. And I not only successfully defended the beacon, but I did so without it becoming invincible. Granted, I did have to repair it a few times. It wasn't the most comfy overcoming, but you can bring it on, Jack. I'll break any and all bots you send my way.
Is now available for travel.
On second thought, never mind. I'm out! I lived, bitch! I've got to go pick up a delivery for my buddy Claptrap. It's some new Hyperion tech that Mordecai wants me to steal. I'm sure it'll go well, despite how the last Hyperion tech theft he led went. Also, isn't it nice of them to make sure that the newer Hyperion software is compatible with Claptrap, despite the fact that his product line has already been mostly eradicated? For as evil as the company absolutely is, it sounds like they're at least being kind to their poor software developers, which is a lot more than you can say about some other places. I unleashed Loot Loader upon the world, but it appears that its stomp attack follows some sort of line of sight, but at the ground level, despite absolutely being in range. You could just take even short cover and be fine, I guess. So I learned something new this run. Aside from dying a few times to death poisoning, things went at least relatively fine. I was sort of dreading the big hunk of metal, but Jacob's snipers are fantastic at any rarity. That being said, I swear, I thought you could get critical hits on its eye, but I could only get the one. Sure, my aim isn't good, but I'm not sure how this works. Oh, Mordecai, I think you need to find a profession outside of stealing Hyperion tech. I don't think you're good at it, and all of your friends are suffering for it. Now, as for the boss fight, this was easy. I've spent way too long fighting this bird already. Between shields and unforeseen, this is a piece of cake. Or poultry? I don't know, but I got the upgrade. Right, your friend. Yeah, sorry about that. Next came a weird crossroads for the run, a question of which I was unsure of an answer. A trial I didn't know if I could pass. Would it be normal? Would it even be human to deny Claptrap a high five, given the option? I say nay, which is ironically a hoarse sound. I will high five my friendly neighborhood robot, because he's been through enough and deserves love. Maybe one day he'll be a better robuddy for it. Come to think of it, why am I delivering this letter at all? We have the EchoNet, just send him a picture or something. I know he's acting like a bandit, but Brick doesn't strike me as the kind of guy to not check his messages at least semi-regularly. Now, given my current loadout, I could fight through a ton of slabs, or I could shoot the helmet off of the Goliaths up next to Brick and let them more or less solo my entire initiation for me. I'll admit, I was getting progressively more nervous about the prospect of having to deal with a Goliath. My guns tickled the damn thing after all. Luckily, its AI is still bound by the same really weird section at the back of the arena where they just don't know how to approach.
Great job.
Brick and I then fought through a lot of loaders because the combat is mandatory, but I at least have him around for the heavy lifting. It's an interesting concept in map design. You have to fight your way in one way and then out the other. And the story gives a reason as to why you're experiencing the environment in reverse. On the other hand, I don't remember the last time I bothered fighting my way in. So in that way, the game forces at least a one-way fight upon me. Turns out the guy named Brick that uses his fist to fight robots with guns isn't the smartest of folks. Really productive fight you two have going on there. Then it turns out you can shoot through the beacons if you're standing sort of close. My guess is the point that my gun is scanning hit detection from is further forward than it should be. Or something. I remember a lot of this run having various bugs and whatnot that I just don't normally see. More than likely some that I've forgotten, but damn, this game is a broken mess. Make no mistake, I adore it. But how are there yet more layers for things to fall apart?
Roland. Brick.
Spuddy! Oh, okay, I'll see myself out. I found a golden opportunity to attack a bunch of construction workers and attempt the assassination of a body double for Jack. Yeah, this place is questionable. For a lot of reasons. And I remember this place being generally dangerous, but common shields just don't stretch as far as I remember. I've been spoiled with uncommons for far too long, as it turns out. Luckily, Vladoff snipers are broken at any rarity, and despite my target being able to instantly get his shield back and also run away like a coward, I was able to catch up to him and finish committing... Is this just terrorism at this point? What do the Hyperion contracts look like? Are these legally soldiers or civilians? For sure they're armed, but their main occupation is just construction. I just need to know whether I'm committing acts of war or crimes of war. While the player's left to ponder a moral dilemma, at least we get the tones of Handsome Jack to muffle the screams of your many victims.
Let's go to 1,000 cuts!
You know I hate those words. We lost a dear friend and noble bird to get past this barrier. Could have put a ladder right here. What, couldn't fit it in the budget? Could easily buy one online. Or hell, we have Ellie. It'd take her what, an hour, max, to weld one together for you? Have it digitized in a few seconds? Or you know what? Wrong crowd. What if we just shot the thing until it stopped working? Anyways, I started my assault by beelining the only mandatory fights. I made the constructor sit in the corner like the terrible robot that it is, blew myself up, and was genuinely surprised by how much damage you can do with several sniper rounds to the eye. Which, in hindsight, sounds obvious. But I think my view of this game's general difficulty curve has gotten a bit skewed with time. I then died to entirely normal enemies. But I came back with a vengeance. A vengeance directed to these nasty little things on behalf of everyone who's had to deal with... Oh my god, they do a lot of damage. Kill cheese with cheese, I guess. I've got a one-way shield. Now that the door is open, I can obviously run straight to... Yeah and no. Now that I've killed a couple of enemies, I'll have no issue running straight to... Who gave them fire bullets? Running straight to the constructor, where I was definitely careful where I stood to avoid weird angles that would leave me out of cover. That would just be stupid on my part. Now, while the constructor normally just kind of sits here trying to kill me directly, it instead opted into spawning enemies. I don't know if I had a lot of lucky runs and that finally ran out, or if I've just been really unlucky recently, but either way, I'm not happy about it, and I want to go back. Shotguns being what they are, I threw a lot of shells into it because I didn't have a better use for them. As much as I love Jacobs, these things aren't doing much, and I die too quickly to use them effectively anyway, because I'm bad. Anyways, with that train wreck out of the way, using my arsenal of weapons that are mostly underleveled because I can't find commons to save my life, I set out to bring down a series of turrets. Completely stationary enemies with relatively low damage output. There's no way that I could mess this up. Unless I do that. I will have no bounce in my challenge run. Wait, was the bunker always purple? I swear it wasn't purple. By this point, I was playing with eyes upon me, streaming my progress to members of the Discord. The same Discord that chose Borderlands 2 as the game I'd play this go-around. The same one that you can find in the description if you're so inclined to come hang out. More to the point though, I was floundering. My complete lack of skill on full display for all to see. No editing or anything to hide behind. And it can be kind of stressful. Among friendly voices and all, but there's that desire to succeed, to entertain. And I'm no expert in either, but that's okay. At least, I think so. If anything, to err is human, which I suppose is the point of it all. I mostly use my weaker guns to conserve sniper rounds, firing from mostly just the bottom of the arena, chipping at its massive health pool. Unloading round after round, I had folks behind me every step of the way. Despite my folly, even a normal person can combat great hurdles. I'm really proud of the things I've done. I'm awestruck at just how wonderful those around me have been. Self-worth can be really tricky at the best of times, but still, you're here. It can be really hard to accept your own shortcomings because you're more intimately familiar with them than anyone else. This whole experience has had me do a lot of reevaluating of my general life. If so many people are here, then I must be doing something right. In that spirit, I think things are going to be okay. I'm perfectly happy being imperfect, so even just for being here, thank you. You've made my day-to-day tangibly better, and I don't believe I'll ever be able to find the words that I would need to express just how much this all means to me. And while we're on the topic of accepting failure, I'll just let that speak for itself. But what's important is that I didn't give up. I picked myself back up to combat the bunker. Wait a minute. Has that part of the environment always phased in and out of existence? It took longer than it should have, but I managed it. I was rewarded for my efforts with a new sniper dealing about double the damage of my last one, and I was left to ponder technology. One of Jack's main defenses of his daughter is a password that can only be given in his voice, which can be beaten by modern tech that we have currently and used to make meme videos. Sure, there's the biosignature as well, but was any part of this place genuinely secure? Because it seems to me that if any random person can walk through all of your defenses, you're probably not doing a great job of locking the place down. Like, ooh, long elevator. I don't even need the elevator. You forgot to secure your wall. I wouldn't even need to defeat the bunker if it wasn't for the objective flags. Control core would go relatively well. I could destroy the traps, I could dismantle the bots. Angelic guards are always at least a bit scary, but I have a level appropriate gun. I also had this hunk of junk, and I swear every time I try a bandit gun, I'm reminded of why I never use bandit guns. They're hot garbage with a trigger, which is exactly why I use it to fell the strongest of foes here. Come on, you big hunk of wires and bolts. You've got nothing. Nothing at all. Except a lot of damage and health. How do you like my, definitely a bandit pistol? Then came time for us to steal a key, kill a child, and leave. Ah, shoot, Roland, your teleporter's busted. I guess you'll be stuck here for the rest of your life. Ha 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 ha. Well, Marcus didn't really have anything for me. I at least succeeded in one of the things I set out to do. 33.3 repeating % is still passing, right? Good to see you promoted, Morty. Please tell me the evil plan that doesn't involve stealing something from Hyperion. Oh no. I stopped in the Iridium Blight to fight King Mong, who, well, his AI broke because everything broke, and then it fixed itself. Then it started hitting me through the environment. Gotta say, my own medicine? I don't like it. I got to Sawtooth Cauldron, and this place isn't the hardest in the game by any means, but I hate this place with a passion that I can't explain. I spent far too long chipping away at the ambush commanders via the elevator shaft and their crappy AIs, because that's more than likely the only way that I was going to get through this at any pace. I carefully dismantled some turrets, because if this run has taught me anything, it's that I absolutely do use a lot of healing and general sustainability in my typical builds, and I wouldn't get far trying to sprint past things without them. Also, I'm at least fairly sure I bounced on another enemy and had to reset my least favorite location in the game. So that was nice. I practiced my buzzer destroying skills before heading up to keep that train rolling. Probably unsurprisingly by now, it didn't go over well. I'll often duck down to the lower level to heal when things get dicey because you can heal in either direction on the elevator. Instead of adapting my strategy, I actually bothered to kill Mortar to make the bottom section safer to at least let my shield come back and take a breath or two. We stole some explosives and I headed off to open a path. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't have the means to just run through. And while I had to farm for experience many times throughout the run, this is the one that hurt me the most. Come here, buggy bug. Come on, this game is full of them. Can't you just spawn some more? Like 10, 20 times? I don't know how many that mod can support. I never installed it. Could make for a fun playthrough if my game could stop breaking for 10 minutes! Oh hey, a chubby. And my first legendary for the run. Also my only legendary for the run. Not that I can use it anyway. I still found it easier to shoot my way through some of these loaders, but otherwise I must be getting my cowardice down to a science because I didn't aggro any going through what used to be the homes of people seeking refuge, and I ran past Saturn on my first try. Come on, give me the map! Google Maps would load faster, and we don't have the EchoNet. Okay, go around the city collecting gifts from people in the form of blue gear that I won't be able to use or repay? Nah. Hey, Claptrap, let's go! I went to the Iridium Blight before heading back to Sanctuary, because I forgot to spend my Iridium. Then I headed back. Snipers are incredible, and for every other occasion, Jacob's pistols. I generally try my best to protect the turrets. In this case, I got downed by an exploder before my only available kill was stolen by those that swore to assist me. I would be more vindictive regarding their treachery, but I can still really use the help. So of course they would both get blown up, more or less right after. Loyalty issues aside, I was able to get through the doors and even up the stairs. Sorry, Claptrap. Maybe after enough lawsuits, Hyperion will be a more accessible company. As much as this is played as a joke, there are people that face this issue on the daily. That's not fair. I rushed past as much as I could to get to the section where the giant muscle man hard carries for a while, and against all odds I didn't die in the process. Barely. But that still counts. Alright, fight fans, here we see Brick taking on the world so you don't have to. It's pretty much just a lot of punching. By God, that's a lot of punches. Excuse me, I'm fairly sure I requested that I not have to fight anything, and there's a stray warloader that you're just ignoring. Alright, fine, I'm repositioning to somewhere it'll be harder for you to ignore things. And now, we wait. Due to the magic of editing, the time for waiting is over! Now is the time for action! Oh, okay. Now is the time for mild speed optimizations that also improve general survivability. Thank you, speedrunning community. What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? Garbage? Great, bye! Alright, time to fight the big bad. The incredibly difficult, super dangerous, nearly impossible. His AI broke. I don't even do anything. I never do anything. He just breaks. In some runs, it makes things impossible. In others, well, this couldn't have gone much more smoothly, so thanks for the spaghetti code. And then the warrior. The giant terrifying monster that has canonically shown up and made some lava rise. Not really sure why it's revered as so scary otherwise. It's not even smart enough to target this area with most of its attacks, so, you know. I just want to remind you that Jacob's guns are single fire, and I fired off every single pistol round that I had. Despite having no skills, despite not having anything fancy, just being a person trying their best, it's amazing what you can accomplish. I didn't make it here on my own. Nobody really gets anywhere by themselves. So maybe next time you see the brick in your life, remind them that they're appreciated for what they do. And I know I'm a bit late, and lacking for words, but to the now well over 10,000 people who've taken the time to share in my passion for games and bad jokes, thank you. On that note, I really hope you've enjoyed your time here. You probably know how to use social media, and I hope that means I'll get to hear your thoughts now and on any future outings. Until then, remember to stay safe, spread some kindness in the world, and for all that you've done, from the bottom of my heart, I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.